Joining us right now for more on this and much more, the director of the Office of Management and Budget from the White House, Russ Vought. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it this morning. There's a lot going on. Your reaction first to the jobs data coming out for the month of May and what you think, what the White House and you think this shows.
Well, just another good jobs report. We're excited about it. It doesn't particularly surprise us. It's part and reflective of the president's economic agenda, and we hope it will continue as we get additional pieces of the puzzle put into place. The one big beautiful bill which will lead to additional job growth, and we're very excited to participate in the agenda.
Let's talk about that bill, because that's a huge focus for you and a huge focus on Capitol Hill at this moment. A lot of heartburn that we are hearing on the Hill, some from Republicans, clearly from many Democrats. Senator Ron Johnson said that he's a no on this, Russ, because of the deficit projection, saying that the way he put it yesterday was he refuses to accept $2 trillion plus deficits as the new normal, and said that the savings in the bill are, quote, barely a rounding error in this massive spending. And I want to play for you also what Chip Roy has said.
They need to go further, or the bill's dead. And hell, even if it bounces back as it was, I'm not sure it passes the House again.
Russ, what are you telling members of Congress like Chip and Senator Johnson?
Well, we're talking to them literally every day, and we're making quite a bit of progress. I know where they're at. But this bill has historic levels of mandatory savings. Historic. We've never seen anything like the level of $1.7 trillion in mandatory savers. It's why the bill over 10 years actually reduces debt and deficits. It's not a rounding error when you have historic levels. When you look back in the last time we were even in the conversation of savings like this was 1990s. Can the bill be improved? Sure. We're very happy with what passed out of the House. We're having great conversations in the Senate and continuing with House members to make improvements to the bill. But this bill, in addition to accomplishing vast amounts of the president's agenda, and that's really what this is. It is an agenda bill. It is not a budget bill. It is a device to get through the Senate without the Senate filibuster and to put as much as you possibly can into it. And any one of these provisions in any other year would have been the subject for 6 to 8 months of debate. This bill puts them all together, helping the American people on so many different fronts that the president was promised to them on the campaign. And in addition, it reduces debt and deficits over 10 years by $1.4 trillion.
You say it does, but and I know you disagree with the CBO projection and the way they do their math, but Senator Tommy Tuberville and others, but Tuberville being another Republican, he doesn't believe you. He believes the CBO numbers. Let me play this.
Was going to drive up the debt. I mean, all you got to do is look at the numbers. The big, beautiful bill is big. Not a lot of it is beautiful. Some of it's beautiful. But again, when you mix it all together, it just makes it that much harder.
What do you do with that?
Kate, what you're hearing is people who are concerned about the current fiscal reality of our country. And this president was elected to do something about it. And the watchdogs that are out there don't want to use an accurate reflection of what current law is with regard to tax relief that causes this bill to be skewed to suggest that it doesn't reduce the deficit and debt over 10 years. But many of these members, all of them we work with very closely and have a desire to do something about debt and deficits. We're working with them closely. Right. They will be allies in that fight. And as we explain this bill, I think we're going to get to a great result in the Senate.
But the thing is, you're talking about the way that these watchdogs go about these projections. Are you just saying Tommy Tuberville doesn't understand the math?
No, look, I think the way the watchdogs are presented to the American people are going off of the watchdogs, whether that's Congressional Budget Office or whether that's... But generally that's what the Senate does, and that's why Tuberville is saying, and he believes, and Ron Johnson believes, that this is going to add to the deficit over 10 years. Kate, I can't explain people's belief. You're asking me about what the facts are, what is reality. The reality is that this bill reduces debt and deficits, and I'm explaining to you why Congressional Budget Office skews their results. And it's not just that they skew the results and don't reflect reality. They also have a historic inability to project the costs of things properly or the savings properly. They are not dynamic, so they don't do tax relief well, and then they look at spending like the Biden green energy deal. And when they did that, there was $300 billion by their account, and we now know it cost $1 trillion. They are historically off, and we're just not going to accept that as we plow forward to get the American people what was promised to them.
I get it, but the question is the way you describe it, you would think every Republican senator, especially those who are deficit hawks, would be super happy to jump on board then, but they're not.
Kate, you can ask the question 3 or 4 different times. The answer is the same. We have to articulate and explain what the bill does and how the watchdogs go about their business. And we're having great conversations across the board. These members want to make this a moment that can be maximized for fiscal responsibility and debt and deficits, and we do too, and that's why we're supportive of the House bill. Just like some of the members that voted for the House bill, we will continue to have those good conversations and get to as good a result as we possibly can, and it will be historic once the Senate passes this bill.
As those conversations continue, this feud between the president and Elon Musk has spilled into the wide open. How much is Musk's attacks here hurting you guys in trying to get this passed?
Look, we were disappointed by Elon's comments, but look, we have a job to do. The president has a job to do. He made promises and campaigned to the American people that we would change the way this town works, and we're in the business of doing that. So we're full steam ahead. We're moving forward, and we will continue to educate and explain to the detractors of this bill what we think it does, what we know it to do, and that won't change.
One of the things that the president said in the midst of this back and forth with Musk is that the best way to save money in the budget is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. Is that under serious consideration? Look,
we recognize that Elon benefits from, and his companies benefit from the taxpayer dollars, right? I think there's just a reflection of that and the reality of that as you assess a bill and assess a bill as big as this one, there's a lot of moving parts. And I think that tweet is a reflection of that reality. And we are aware of the interest that Elon's various companies have, and we are trying to put together the best bill for the American people as we possibly can.
It sounds like a yes.
No, I didn't say. What I said was that it is a recognition, as we explain to the American people, the realities of people's interests with regard to assessing is a bill good for the country or bad for the country. And the president was stating the reality that the businesses of Elon Musk benefit and work in tandem with the federal government. The American people need to know that.
Absolutely. I mean, is the, just take the one contract, SpaceX. I mean, is a $152 billion contract with SpaceX from NASA, is that worthwhile government spending?
Again, the reality of the ways that Elon has constructed his businesses, Kate, is that he has contracts with federal government, federal agencies, and it's a point to the American people in the midst of a very complicated back and forth legislative process that as we have outside parties now, outside the federal government, who are opposing for various reasons the bill, it is a point the administration will continue to make that these contracts and relationships with federal agencies are present, these policy provisions in law are present, and that is something that the American people should factor in when they assess where people are, given the back and forth and who's opposed and who's supportive of a bill that we believe is historic, will help reduce the deficit, will help balance the budget over time, and lead to a host of important reforms.
One thing is certain, this is a very important week, has been for this bill, and it will be, we've got some very important days ahead in where this heads. Russ Vought, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate your time.